Okay, welcome back. Now we're going to put the centerpiece in our guy, the big cylinder in the middle here. I know I said before I might use the extraction mesh, but I think I want to earn this. I want to actually have something in here that's a little more detailed. Plus, we've cut some corners. We've used the insert mesh brushes, even though we could make these things in Maya. We did save time by doing that. So let's even out the ledger by doing the work here. So I'm going to bring in a poly cylinder, plain old cylinder, and I actually want to use some tools we haven't used yet, I think, so far. So this might be worth it anyway. I'm going to focus on one side, the left side, and then I can mirror and weld it over. Mirror and weld is a great little mirroring tool, but it only works in one direction. So let's make sure we use the left side and we'll mirror it over to the right. So let's just look at this poly cylinder here. It's just a poly cylinder. I'm going to use some tools we haven't used yet. I'm going to use some extrude tools. I'm sorry, not extract. We've done that plenty of times. Extrude and some slice curve, which I haven't done before, I don't think. So let's play with extrude here. Now, what extrude is, of course, if you've used Maya or 3D Max or anything else, you know what extrude is. But to do it in ZBrush, I think it's fairly new. One of the things you have to keep in mind, though, to extrude in ZBrush, you have to make sure there are no subdivision levels. It should be pristine. So I want to isolate some of these guys here in the middle. I'm going to hold down Control and Shift to go to my lasso tool, my visibility lasso, and I'm just going to grab these 3 rows. Now, as you can see, I didn't get everything I wanted, but I do want this 3rd row. So what I'm going to do, make sure I'm going to turn on double visibility because I don't really want to see that other side. So I want to make it go away. Now I want to increase my selection here. I want to have one more row here. So to do that, it's really easy. You go to the visibility here and choose grow. I just have it mapped to my plus key, so I hit that, and now I have all these guys. I'm going to group this, group visible, and now I'm going to mask it. And then I'm going to bring everything back and invert the mask. So now I have this little group selected, and to extrude this, you go to your transpose tool, and I'm just going to click on it right in the center here, so it's sticking straight out from the normal. And I'm going to go from the side view here, so you can't see, but you want to, just to show you, hold down the Control key with this transpose tool. If you push, you can see it actually extrudes the faces. Which is really, really awesome. But I want to make sure it goes straight back, so I'm going to go to the side view here, hold down Control, and just push. And I can detect a faint little ripple on the side of the poly frame here, which is where it is. So that's actually pretty convenient. Okay, so now with that selected still, let's go back to my transpose tool. I can of course extrude again. I'm going to extrude this from the center. Let's just draw it from the center. But I'm going to go to the scale tool now and hold down the Control, and now I'm going to extrude in faces this way. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the side view again. Let's just move this out of the way and then redo it. Go to the side view, hold down Control, and pull out. All right, so now of course we have, let's go to the move tool, not the scale tool. Okay, so now I pulled out that part in the middle. So it's really quite simple to extrude faces now, which is really great. It's really helpful. So you can play around with this all you want. I can go now to the center part here if I want. I think I nudged that a little bit. I can go to the center part here, hold down Control and Shift, and let's just grab this inner part. Get rid of these. I will group visible. Okay, and let's just bring back everything. I want to make sure I mask this, invert the mask. Let's try that again. Mask this, invert the mask, move tool, click, and go to the side view here, hold down Control, and pull. Okay, so it gives it a little bit of a knob there. And maybe I'll just taper it in a little bit here. Let's move this out of the way, and then go to the scale tool here, and scale it in. There you go. Just to kind of give it a little bit of a bevel. Okay, so one quick way to do that, not so bad. You could go into radial symmetry and do some sculpting here. I want to keep this fairly low res, though. I'm not really looking to make this a huge addition to the poly count of our scene. But here's another thing we can do. Now we can do the same thing here in the middle. We can just grab groups, mask it off, group it, and inflate it or deflate it. But I want to show you, something else we can do. It's the same concept, but it's a different tool. If you go up here to if you hold down Control and Shift, go to your brush, you'll see we have clip, right? We also have slice curve. And for Dynamesh, slice curve actually is awesome. It can actually separate pieces. But for whole meshes here, it's really, I think, most useful for just creating groups. So if I go to my little pop-up menu here and go to Slice Curve, hold down Control and Shift, I'll just click and drag, and you see it automatically makes a group. Okay, I can click and create another one. Every time I click and drag, it'll create a new group for me. So what I can do, of course, is then isolate this group and inflate it or deflate it or whatever you want to do. And then when I bring back everything else, now I have a nice sharp edge here. So it's really, really awesome. You can, it creates groups nice and fast, and then a perfectly sharp thing. Sometimes your masking tools aren't going to be as cooperative in that regard. So again, this is not what you call an overly fancy mesh. You can add some doodads or just make this a high res mesh and do it. But what I want to do is just mirror this over to the other side. So it's under your geometry tab is mirror and weld. It's down here, but I have it on my little menu here, and I just go to mirror and weld, and it pops it over to the other side, and now we have the same thing on both. It's really, really convenient. So that's just a little look at some of the other tools that ZBrush has, and they're all really, really, really helpful. I'm going to bring this back to about here. So what are we going to do next? Well, this is a really short look at that tool. What I want to do next is a little bit more involved. I'm going to grab this guy, and you can see we have a little bit of a bump here. So I'm going to move that back. But before I do that, I'm going to turn on symmetry because otherwise, yeah, okay. What I want to do is that big part is actually a pretty involved part of the head. If I bring back our robot mesh here, you see it's these two swoopy things right here. This guy coming down and this big guy coming down. This big guy actually is, as you can see, it actually comes out from the mesh. Okay, it's like these two vents on either side. So we're not going to use our mask and extract tool. I want to make sure this is a little more exacting. So we're going to instead use our topology tool using our Z-spheres. Okay. What I'm going to do is I made a copy of this. I duplicated this, and here it is right here. I smoothed this out roughly, just so that when I use my topology tool and I use this as a guide, it's not going to be as bumpy as this. It's going to be less bumpy. So I'm going to just flatten this out a little bit like this, so that I have a nice smooth mesh to draw on. Okay. And this is going to be the basis for our two pieces. So I'm going to do it separately, but in the next lesson, I'm going to save this one little piece here out as a tool, and then I'm going to use that as the source mesh for our topology tool. So in the next lesson, we're going to start blocking out the basics of these pieces, and we'll bring them back in and apply them to our main mesh. So I will see you in the next lesson.